So we just talked about body dysmorphia and like the people that comment on your Instagrams and stuff. But how has this affected you in life?
I would say, like, as a woman, I've had 2 children, so my body has changed. My eldest is 13, my youngest is 6, so I've had 2 pregnancies, and because of the age gap, I was 26 when I had my first, and being honest, I think due to my age at that time, I just felt like when I had him, I felt like I didn't feel pressured about getting back to my pre-body weight. It kind of just happened, and it wasn't something that I really had to try for. I did snap back quite quick. However, with my second child, I felt like it took me a lot longer to get back to my pre-body weight, and I feel like I probably would say for the first time in my adult life, I probably would say I had insecurities about my body. After having a child, like for the second time, I just felt like, oh, why am I not snapping back like the second time? Obviously, I was 6 years older. And I think when I look back now at pictures, I didn't even look that bad, but at the time I genuinely felt huge. And like my husband, people would say to me, oh no, you're fine, or they'd say you've lost weight, and I'm like, no, I've still got half a stone or a stone to lose. But in your head, like, you just feel like you're almost not good enough, or you're not happy with yourself. I'd like look in myself at mirrors and I'd be like, there's something wrong with the mirror, or but I think everybody goes through phases where they're insecure. I think it's just how you deal with that. And I'll be honest, all I did was just focus on what can I do to make myself feel better. So I started going to the gym, I started kind of thinking about what I'm eating, and then over time I did start losing the weight. I did get back to my pre-body weight, and my confidence did build up. I didn't feel like that for a long period of time. I think in my head I was like, I'm not going to let this overtake my life. But yeah, I would say body dysmorphia has definitely affected me, I'd say, from having children. I wouldn't say it's something that affects me now. I mean, I've just turned 40, so I think I'm at an age where I accept who I am. I accept, there's some days where you might look in the mirror and you think, yeah, I look all right today. There might be other days where you're like, no, not feeling it. But I would say from being a mum and having children, that's taken the biggest toll on my body personally, and I think that's where I probably struggled the most with, like, insecurities, body confidence. And like I say, when I look back at photos, there's one particular picture where, like, I remember getting dressed to go out. I was going out with some friends, and I just felt like I just didn't look nice. I didn't feel confident in what I was wearing. And when I look at that picture now, there genuinely is nothing wrong with me at all. But at that moment, in my head, I just didn't feel myself. And I think sometimes it's okay to feel like that, but at the same time, you've got to kind of do what you can do for yourself to take control of it and try and get yourself into a stronger headspace, I'd say.
So you are quite a confident person, yeah, the way you present yourself and stuff. So, but do you feel like there's any comments before from people saying anything to you? Has it taken its toll, for example?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, there's one thing being confident, but I think any kind of confident person has their down days or has their insecure moments. I think, for instance, like on Instagram, I used to post a lot of content of me training, workout videos, upper body days, lower body days, skipping, cardio, whatever it was that I was doing. And for a woman, when you wear like a sports bra, they are supposed to compress your chest area. And I'm not a big busted woman. I never have been. Yeah, when I was pregnant, you put on weight, your breasts are full of milk, so they're bigger. But I have had a couple of comments where people have said, oh, nice bum, shame about, the boobs, you haven't got no tits, those kind of like comments. And when you see it written down, I think it kind of cuts deep, because it's like you're reading the words rather than hearing it. And also, yeah, you can delete the comment, but if the comment's still there, you can go back and read it. And when somebody's replied to your story of you training, and they've replied to your story saying, shame about that, like you haven't got any boobs, and at that moment you're thinking, yeah, I don't have a big chest. I never have, but also I'm wearing something that's compressing me, so you're not getting a true picture of what I look like anyway. Obviously, if I was wearing like a bra, I'd look completely different. But I'll be honest, and I've said this to a lot of people, it was something that I was considering, whether I should get a boob job, it wasn't necessarily for size, it probably was more for volume, especially after breastfeeding 2 children. Your body does change massively, it does change, but I would say it did affect me. I wouldn't say it affected me to the point where I haven't had a boob job. I'm natural in that area, but it did. You know, I'd say I probably did have a few sleepless nights. It did make me think, oh, you know, like, should I even post content anymore? And I have had stages where I haven't posted. I mean, I don't post as much now just because I'm quite busy with my business, but in lockdown I was posting every single day, and then I remember I'd like completely deleted the app. I was like, right, that's it, saying to my husband, I'm not doing it anymore, you know, people are judging me, my body's not good enough. So I have had moments of feeling insecure and lacking in confidence for sure. You know, people's words can be really cruel. They can be really cruel, so as confident as I may seem, things can get to you, definitely.
Now, you are a personal trainer, but also a nutritionist, like coach, advocate. What are some of the red flags or indicators that you see in clients that might be struggling with body dysmorphia in relation to their nutrition diets, for example?
I think when clients come in, and I always say to them, like, if they're training in the evening, I'll ask them, have they eaten well in the day? Did they sleep well? If they've told me they haven't eaten a lot in the day, that's always a trigger point, because if you haven't eaten enough, have you even got enough energy to do this PT session, for instance? And I think over time, if they're coming to me week in, week out, and they're repeatedly telling me that they're not eating enough, that's quite a concern, because then you think to yourself, is this going down an eating disorder route? You know, like, are they seeing something that other people don't see? Like, are they looking in the mirror and seeing like something that we're not seeing? I do predominantly train women. I have trained men, and I do train men, but predominantly women come to me, I would say. And I think women are very hard on themselves, and I think body dysmorphia is sometimes associated with like numbers. So sometimes women want to weigh themselves, but then sometimes they don't, because they don't want to see what that number says. Likewise, there's women that will, I don't know, buy a size 10 dress, they might put on some weight and they have to buy a size 14 dress, and they'll cut the label out of that dress. But it's like, who's looking at your label? But it's like we get, as women, we get obsessed with numbers, and I think that in itself, you know, they're seeing something, they're feeling something that isn't quite real, and it's like that number thing. Like, even like I'll do measurements, and it's like I could say, oh, you've lost an inch off your waist, for instance, which is a lot for a woman. That could be a dress size down. But I think women do get really caught up on numbers, and I do feel like social media, I think definitely maybe over the last, I want to say 4 or 5 years, I think can have a negative impact on women, because they look at celebrities, for instance, who have been filtered, or they might have had different like surgeries to improve their body, they might have had fillers or Botox, and ultimately your average person like myself is looking at somebody who has had a lot of enhancements, and they're comparing themselves to that. So
how do you approach these that are struggling, like mentally?
Yeah, so all I kind of advise my clients is, I do say about social media, I think one of the biggest things that I say is, if you're going on Instagram, TikTok, day in, day out, and it's making you feel like shit, come off it. I'm all about having a break from things, so just take yourself away from whatever is making you feel like that. Stop looking at these women that don't actually even look like that. Take yourself away from it, have a break from it, actually focus on what people look like in front of you. So if you're going to work, like, what do real people actually look like? And one, I would say, just stop trying to compare yourself to people. Like, just focus on yourself. Like, if you want to get stronger, if you want to improve your fitness, just focus on what you're doing. I think sleep's a big thing as well. I always say to clients, try and get like a good 7 hours of sleep. That in turn is always going to make you feel better. If you're not sleeping enough, you're going to be cranky, you're going to be more, I don't know, you're going to have more issues with your mental health, aren't you? If you're tired, if you've got a good diet, meaning, you know, you're eating like nutritious food, get some fresh air, go out for a walk, take yourself out of the house, away from screens, whether it's your phone, the TV, a laptop, get out in the open, go for fresh air. Clients that have got dogs, I'll say, go and walk your dog. Clients that have got kids, go and take your child to the park, get out in fresh air, and just really focus on things that take you away from what's causing the root issue.
So in terms of people that are young adults, especially, are obsessed with building a big muscle mass,
yeah,
looking a certain way, looking big, what would you sort of say to them, whether it's nutrition-wise or, you know, eating habits or just their gym exercise? Like, what would you sort of recommend?
So if people are really obsessed with building muscle.
Bodybuilding, looking big, yeah.
I'd ask them, like, why is it? Like, I'd kind of get to the root issue and say, why is it that you want to be so big? What is it that you're trying to achieve? And try and get to, a lot of the time people are comparing themselves. They're comparing themselves to, like, I don't know, like The Rock, for instance, and it's like, okay, well, he's naturally a tall guy anyway, so, you know, if someone's like shorter or whatever, like, you're realistically not going to grow a foot overnight. And I think I always just say focus on the root cause. Like, why is it that you want to get big? I think realistically, if you're training well and you're eating well, you are going to build muscle mass. If you're doing progressive overload, you're eating enough protein, you're getting enough rest and recovery, then that is going to happen over time. Excuse me. I think a lot of people are in a hurry as well. They want results in like 3 months, when realistically, if you look at people that go on a fitness journey, it takes them about 3, 4, 5 years. If you look at the progress, it's not something that you can build overnight. And I always say, be patient. You're not going to get there unless you're taking some kind of, again, enhancements or substances. You're not going to go from being a 10-stone man to an 18-stone man in 3 months. That's not going to happen, you know.
You spoke so well. I was all right. My questions there.
Oh.
But yeah, thank you so much.
No worries.
That's perfect.